During World War II, an ace flying squad met with an unknown attack. An alien warship gradually revealed its full appearance. After being released from stealth, the traditionally sturdy human fighter jets were as fragile as eggshells under its high-tech grappling cables. As the situation grew more critical, the control stick of pilot Torres unexpectedly broke. He could only use a wrench to wedge into the groove. At this point, the alien warship launched its grappling cable again, and the steel claw pierced into the fighter jet, flinging it backward. Two fighter jets collided, bursting into sparks in the air. The pilot inside the alien warship was called a predator, a high-tech extraterrestrial species specialized in hunting. It burned the human fighter jets behind it to charcoal. In the blink of an eye, the whole elite squad was nearly wiped out. Torres' right wing also caught fire. Unluckily, he clamped a tool in his mouth right away, locked the aircraft into a constant speed flight state, and then risked climbing out of the cockpit. The commander-in-chief was so terrified by the kid's actions that his heart almost jumped out of his chest. Torres clung to the aircraft's fuselage as he approached the burning section. However, the wrench wedging the control stick loosened, and the fighter jet tilted instantly. Torres almost fell off. He frantically struck the side wing, deploying the folded hidden flaps, which finally stabilized the fighter jet. Torres tried to knock off the burning component, but the fire spread to his sleeve. In the nick of time, the Predator's warship closed in. Luckily, members of the flying squad came to draw the fire. He deftly evaded the opponent's attacks. This situation clearly enraged the Predator. Debris from the fighter jets scattered everywhere. As Torres covered his head to take cover, he realized the Predator was approaching. He quickly kicked off the burning component with all his might. The Predator instinctively activated its grappling cable, but the acceleration component exploded. Torres took the opportunity to climb back into the spacecraft. Now, only he and the commander remained in the whole airspace. After the previous battle and observation, Torres concluded that Predators could only sense heat, and didn't have human-like vision. Therefore, he planned to fly upward with all his might to cool the engine. The commander followed Torres and increased speed upward. The sudden drop in temperature caused a layer of frost to form on the dashboard. The Predator was still hot on their tail, and Torres urged the commander to shut down the engine right away. Unexpectedly, the latter intended to sacrifice himself. He remained motionless the moment Torres turned off the engine. Having lost Torres' coordinates, the Predator could only fire an energy cable at the commander. The tightening laser beam instantly severed his head, so the entire squad was killed, leaving only the alternate pilot Torres, and the Predator was still patrolling and searching the surrounding area. Torres dared not activate the engine and let the fuselage fall downward. Luckily, the wings played a role, and the descent speed wasn't very fast. Torres calmed down and looked for an opportunity.
Oh, come on. It actually worked!
Unluckily, before he could happy for 2 seconds, he found that the previous attack had been ineffective against the Predator. Torres had to turn on the engine before crashing to the ground. The Predator almost locked onto his position. Right away, upon seeing the fighter jet, the Nazis on the ground quickly set up their weapons and opened fire. Torres skimmed low in the air to avoid the fire, so all attacks concentrated on the Predator. Even if the alien fighter jets were very powerful, they couldn't withstand such high-intensity strafing. Upon realizing this, Torres rushed into the combat zone regardless of the danger. Shells exploded continuously like firecrackers. While evading the hail of bullets, Torres quickly locked onto a cannon ahead that was preparing to fire. He dodged at the last second, while the Predator behind took a direct hit and went into the water. Torres let out a cheer and prepared to leave. Unexpectedly, the Predator's warship was amphibious. Now it returned to the battlefield again. Torres was instantly panicked until he saw a photo of himself and his father.
Thanks, Dad. Gotta flood the engine.
Torres first accelerated wildly, then climbed out of the cockpit with a parachute in his arms. He loudly provoked the Predator behind him. The burning engine crashed into the warship's hull at high speed. The sea emitted a loud hum from the impact. The formidable warship was finally destroyed. Torres fired a signal flare into the sky, and finally returned to the small town to work as a mechanic. 2 years ago, in Florida, he was still a silly kid who could only drive after fighter jets. Every time, he would break his father's car, and the engine would billow thick black smoke. Torres' mind was never on car repair. His dream at the time was to become a pilot one day. His father warned him Charles Lindbergh could fix his own car, and he was the first person to fly solo nonstop across the Atlantic. His father was a car doctor and quickly found that His son had flooded the engine after a quick check. His father told him, "Dreams are indeed fuel, but the reason you can't fly is that you can't handle the engine." Later, when the conscription notice arrived, Torres joined the flying squad as he wished. Teammates often joked about him. A dignified pilot, "Why are you repairing the engine yourself?" Torres would just smile and say, "I learned the craft in my hometown." A few hours ago, there was a sudden commotion at the base. A seriously injured pilot landed with a heavily damaged fighter jet.
Went right for her engines. I never seen anything like it. Hooks in the sky.
Torres looked at the holes in the fighter jet, wondering what could have such destructive power. Torres took out the unknown object stuck in the engine and found that the incision where it penetrated the fuselage was very smooth, like a hot knife cutting through butter. Torres tried all kinds of methods and tools, but couldn't damage this metal. He even accidentally triggered a mechanism on it, nearly stabbing his friend to death. The metal quickly deformed and flew into the sky like an arrow. At that time, the commander-in-chief was leading the team in battle against the enemy, and completely failed to notice the alien fighter jet hidden in the shadows. As an alternate, Torres had no opportunity or permission to take to the sky. He could only tell his discovery to the correspondent, reminding him that there were other threats in the sky, and that the commander-in-chief must be informed right away. But the fleet had already exceeded the communication range, and the commander-in-chief couldn't receive messages from the base. That's why Torres rushed to the scene in a broken plane, with a faulty control stick to deliver the message. Unexpectedly, he failed to save his teammates and became the only survivor. Now, the entire repair shop suddenly began to shake violently. He cautiously walked out to check, but the silent wilderness was empty. But there was a mechanical sound from behind. The next second, a strong beam of light shone, and 3 light spots appeared on Torres' chest. When he came to his senses, he found himself in a strange building. There were predators everywhere. They also put a collar around Torres' neck. The predators locked 3 people from different eras together. Torres tried to inquire about the situation, but there was a language barrier. In fact, predators usually descend in the shadows of human history to carry out deadly hunts on the toughest warriors from different eras. Among the 3 imprisoned humans, there was only one female, Viking raider Ursa. Her story began a long time ago. Ursa traveled thousands of miles with her young son Anders, only to kill the Krivich people and avenge her father. As soon as the Viking ship docked, they saw flaming arrows raining down. Just as I thought a major battle was about to unfold, the director cut to a scene after the battle had ended. In short, the Vikings searched every house and slaughtered every Krivich clansman, leaving only one man alive. "Where is your chieftain Zoran?" Ursa asked, driving a blade into the man's abdomen. After several rounds of torture, they forced out the information that Zoran had built a massive fortress several leagues eastward. Ursa pulled out her axe and told her son to kill the captive. The bound man uttered a vicious curse, and Anders froze in place, too scared to move. Ursa stepped forward and killed the captive, then looked at Anders with disappointment. She wouldn't allow her son to be so weak, so she began to talk about the grudges of the previous generation. Ursa had witnessed her father being driven to despair by Zoran, and their clan had been nearly wiped out. Before dying, her father only begged Zoran to spare his daughter. He took Ursa's hand and pressed it against a dagger, smearing the hot blood from his palm onto her face. This was a tradition passed down through generations of Vikings. Ursa would surely gain strength from her father's blood to avenge her deceased family. After saying this, her father forced his daughter to drive the blade into his own heart. From then on, Ursa lived for nothing but revenge. Shortly after, the Vikings arrived at the fortress in the icy wilderness. She banged on the front gate right away, and used her shield to slice off the head of anyone who blocked her path. Ursa was a sword tempered by hatred day and night, and inspired by their leader, the Vikings charged into the enemy camp one after another. For a time, the only sounds were the slicing of blades through flesh and the wailing of enemies. Ursa advanced irresistibly toward the vital points. At this point, Zoran sat on the throne ahead, old and with white temples, but Ursa was no longer the helpless girl she had been. She was the renowned shield maiden stone mover, the Valkyrie of the North Sea. But Zoran didn't take Ursa seriously.
You killed your own father. Any decent Krivich child would have fought me even if it meant death. You were so afraid. You still are.
Zoran tried to continue humiliating Ursa, but the next second, his head was on the ground. Anders, who had been too afraid to kill a prisoner of war the night before, actually cut off Zoran's head. He wouldn't allow this man to insult his mother. At this point, a series of invisible footprints suddenly appeared on the blood-soaked snow, as if some massive creature was Approaching, the next second, Anders was sent flying by an invisible wave. A terrifying predator tore through the void and appeared. The wolf-headed warrior quickly stepped in front of Ursa. The predator smashed 2 Viking strongmen flying. In the blink of an eye, several of Ursa's trusted generals died under the predator's giant palm. Ursa let out a furious shout and charged forward. But humans were no match for the monster. In the nick of time, Anders threw his spear into the monster's chest, but it showed no reaction. Ursa rushed forward again to save her son, and during their fight, they smashed the roof beams. Anders was hit by the collapsing wood. The predator activated a device on its hand, and fired a burst of energy at Ursa. Her shield, which had killed countless enemies, instantly shattered, and Ursa was sent flying several meters into the snow. The collapsing building caused the ground to shake, and the unconscious Ursa slid down the snowy slope. Luckily, a moment of weightlessness woke her up, and Ursa managed to grab the cliff in time. However, a huge block of ice fell and smashed her into the icy river. By the time Ursa reacted, the ice above her was about to freeze. She quickly swam over and pressed against the air hole, only to find the monster chasing after her. It walked above Ursa, separated by only a thin layer of ice, but the monster couldn't detect her position. Ursa quickly swam toward the hole the predator had made. When landing and held her breath behind a wrecked ship, the predator fired an energy wave to destroy the wrecked ship, and Ursa took the opportunity to pull up a heavy ship anchor and wait for her chance. Seeing that the ice was about to break, she deliberately provoked the predator to approach, then smashed the ice with her shield, and they fell into the water. Unluckily, the predator's arm was wrapped in chains, and it could only grab Ursa's ankle. Too bad it didn't know she was good at swimming. Ursa was as agile as a fish, clinging to the iron chain and wrapping it around the predator's body. She noticed that the device on the opponent's right arm was an energy cannon, and deliberately provoked the predator to fire at her. Ursa aimed her shield at the muzzle right away, and the predator was instantly impaled by the anchor due to the recoil. Ursa rebounded back onto the ice and hurried to find her son, only to discover Anders lying in a pool of blood, losing his breath before he could finish a single word. Later, Ursa was captured and imprisoned by aliens. On an island at the other end of the earth lived a group of warriors, completely different from the Vikings. Their name is surely familiar to you, ninjas. In 1609 Japan, there were 2 brothers of similar age in a renowned samurai family. They loved each other dearly and had studied kendo together since childhood. However, a brutal inheritance battle always loomed before them, as only one of them could inherit their father's estate and reputation. The younger brother refused to fight his elder brother, and voluntarily threw his sword aside on the day of the contest. But the elder brother, in order to become a son who would make his father proud, chose to wield his sword against his own flesh and blood. The disappointed younger brother stormed out. 20 years passed, and the renowned family head had passed away, with only the eldest son standing by his corpse. The funeral bell rang for miles, reaching the ears of the younger son who had left home. There was still a scar on his face from his elder brother. The younger brother took out the weapon hidden under the floor, and the frost-like blade illuminated his face. In the late night, the mansion was heavily guarded outside, and a soldier went to the river to relieve himself. A piece of driftwood floated on the water, and someone hiding below blew a poison needle arrow. The attacker was none other than the younger brother, although his movements were silent. A non-human creature, a predator, stood high above. It clearly detected the intrusion and went into stealth mode right away, trailing the younger brother. At this point, a soldier patrolling the second floor saw the younger brother crouching on the roof, and grabbed a mallet right away to ring the bell and give a warning. The younger brother whipped out a long rope to entangle the mallet, then choked the soldier's throat to use him as a human shield, blocking the attack of another patroller. In an instant, he took care of 2 soldiers, all without making a sound. Unluckily, the person in the watchtower opposite still spotted the intruder, and the alarm bell rang through the night sky. The elder brother signaled his men to seal the gates, and everyone drew their swords, preparing for battle. The next second, several smoke bombs exploded indoors, and under the cover of the blood-red smoke, the younger brother rushed to his elder brother's presence right away. When the smoke cleared, the younger brother pulled up his mask, revealing the scar that symbolized betrayal. The predator hid in the room, enjoying this confrontation. "20 years had passed, and both had undergone transformation. The younger brother held a short blade throughout, deliberately provoking his former elder brother as if mocking his inferior skills. The elder brother picked up the knockdown katana, and charged forward again. Unexpectedly, the younger brother whipped out a chain again. to entangle the blade, and the sharp katana was driven into the ceiling beam. The elder brother grabbed the chain to flip his opponent over, then climbed the beam to retrieve his weapon. The younger brother also leaped up using the chain. The two fought fiercely on the complex wooden roof. The elder brother's blade became stuck in the wooden beam, and he was kicked down to the lower floor. The younger brother chased after him right away. The elder brother dodged the attack, while changing into the armor scattered on the ground. However, this armor symbolizing the family head's honor only further enraged the opponent. The younger brother forced him to the railing, and slashed a bloody mark on his elder brother's cheek with his blade. Unexpectedly, the impact caused the railing to break, and the elder brother fell from the building the next second. This was truly unexpected for the younger brother. He had only wanted to avenge the sword strike from back then, never intending to kill his elder brother. Just then, a sound came from behind the screen, staring at the portrait of their father. The younger brother quickly threw a smoke bomb and fled. 3 soldiers burst in. The predator, wearing extendable chains on its arms, easily sliced off one soldier's head, and the other 2 were pierced by its spear. The younger brother hid on the beam and saw the whole thing. As soon as the predator touched its wrist gauntlet, it went into stealth mode. While the younger brother was stunned, he was also detected by the predator. He leaped over several soldiers in the corridor and fled in a panic. The predator chased after and easily killed the 2 soldiers. The younger brother hid under the eaves, carefully listening to the movements above. The moment the predator approached, he stabbed at it with his blade, then dashed across the rooftops. The younger brother fell against the building to cushion the impact, then dropped into the river below. When he finally clambered onto the shore, his elder brother suddenly came out to launch a surprise attack. But now there was a stronger enemy, the predator. In the nick of time, the elder brother's first instinct was to protect his family. Seeing his brother stabbed by the predator, the younger brother quickly pushed him away, leaped onto the spear, and struck back with his blade. The enraged predator whipped out a long lash, dragging both brothers to the ground, then unleashed various high-tech weapons. As he fell, the younger brother noticed the predator had dropped a trigger bomb. While his elder brother distracted the creature, he hid the bomb and deliberately provoked the predator to attack. The moment the chain retracted, the bomb became stuck at the end of the gauntlet and then detonated. Green blood splattered onto the trees, due to the predator's stealth function. The brothers had no idea where it was, but coincidentally, it was late autumn, and a fallen leaf drifted but hung motionless in midair. The 2 brothers drew their blades right away. A fluorescent green bloodline wound down along the tip of the blade. They successfully killed the monster, and healed the 20-year rift between them. Unluckily, the elder brother was too seriously injured. Before he died, he told his younger brother, although these leaves grow together, they won't wither at the same time. The elder brother hoped he could live well. Later, the younger brother was also captured by the predator's main force. 3 carefully selected human warriors were gathered, and the predators threw them into a giant gladiatorial arena. Torres looked around and finally realized, no matter what this place is, it can't be on Earth. Just then, a huge warship landed, and a predator warrior who looked like a leader stepped out. He had selected these 3 outstanding warriors from Earth, just to make them fight each other. If Torres and the others dared to disobey, the collars would explode right away. Then, the predators provided 3 weapons according to the characteristics of the 3. However, before the predators released the monsters, Ursa started fighting with the ninja. As a modern man, Torres was naturally not as skilled in close combat as them, so he stood aside honestly and assembled a pistol. Unexpectedly, an iron gate on one side opened, and a ferocious beast walked out. It swallowed a predator as easily as eating a snack. Torres quickly went to warn the ninja and Ursa. The young man suddenly reminded Ursa of her dead son, and she finally calmed down, but Torres was swallowed by the monster in one bite. The furious Ursa rushed forward right away to slash at the giant monster. Inside the monster's stomach, Torres found the comrade who had just been bitten and swallowed. He struggled to crawl over, trying to use the high-tech weapons on the predator's body to escape. Outside, Ursa and the ninja also chose to join forces against this formidable enemy. First, the 3 worked together in perfect coordination, attacking the monster's throat together and successfully killing it. Then, a garbage truck came to remove the corpse, and the poor Torres was cleared from the battlefield before he could climb out. So the scene turned into a duel between the ninja and Ursa again. The former hadn't wanted to fight his elder brother decades ago, and now was unwilling to kill innocent people, so he dropped his sword and waited for death. Ursa also gave up fighting. The ninja closed his eyes and waited for the collar to explode. In the nick of time, Torres appeared on a small motorcycle, holding a predator's severed arm in his hand. Torres used the controller on it to remove the collars, and carried the two of them toward the warship. The predator leader threw its weapon right away, and a fierce battle was about to begin. No matter how powerful the three were, they were no match for the aliens. They had to unite to deal with the enemy now. The ninja and Ursa exchanged glances, and the two elite warriors performed a wonderful combo, making the predator cry out in pain. Taking the opportunity, Torres entered the spaceship to figure out its operation process first. At this point, the predator was completely enraged. With a roar, he punched them flying and clamped Ursa's and the ninja's heads, with his two giant claws respectively. In the nick of time, Torres finally started the spaceship, and the predator was swept off the cliff by the flames. Ursa and the ninja used their shields to wedge into the ground, then got up and rushed toward the warship. The predator chased after them again, and the ninja sacrificed his arm to save Ursa's life. The two stumbled onto the spaceship and fled. Unexpectedly, the predator fired a grappling hook to nail the spaceship, preventing them from leaving. Ursa took a deep look at her two human companions, then slid down the chain to the ground. She smashed the grappling device, allowing her two companions to leave first. However, the predator warriors wouldn't stop hunting, and this war was far from over. This season's story ends here. This film is adapted from the game IP of the same name. The three stories span time and space, from the Viking Age to Shogunate Japan and even World War II, telling the brave deeds of three predators coming to Earth to meet their demise. The fight scenes are well designed, at least better than this year's Love, Death and Robots. The three short stories are full of fights from start to finish. Due to the limited film length, all the highlights are in the action scenes, which are very satisfying to watch.